you able to see it?
Yes, we are able to see it.
Oh,
Thank
great,
you.
great. Thank you so much. So basically, when we are talking about mental health, that this has become one of those topics that are trending at the moment. It's like now finally we are paying attention to what mental health is. And I'm so proud of you guys for setting up a mental health session, especially for men, because trust me, men are not the majority in my private practice. They are actually the minority. And most of the times it's because maybe they have to come for couples therapy because they've been dragged by their wives, or they are really feeling, cornered and they cannot function anymore. So I want to say that, we need to make men's mental health, the norm. When you're talking about mental health, what are you looking at? We are looking at the psychological well-being and satisfactory adjustment to society and to the ordinary demands of life. Life is not a straight line. We go through issues that either are within our control or they're not within our control. So if you are psychologically okay, then there's that level of satisfaction when it comes to your life. There's that level of competency and resilience when it comes to handling life situations and being able to bounce back, and and also just the normal life, ordinary demands of life. According to WHO, 1 in every 8 people in the whole world live with a mental health disorder. Okay, well, so when you are looking at the mental health disorder condition, it has a negative effect on the way an individual, thinks. So the cognitive aspect of that person's life, how that person is thinking, how that person is feeling, and of course that has an impact on how that person behaves. When you talk about the causes of mental health, it's not necessarily just one issue, one source, one cause. Yeah, it is normally usually a combination of different things. Our genetics, some of us are biologically or genetically predisposed to mental health issues. If you look at something like schizophrenia, it runs within families. If you look at bipolar, if you know a guka or a grandma who had schizophrenia or bipolar, or many of the other disorders, then it puts you at a higher risk of suffering a mental health issue, and especially the same condition, as compared to the next person who doesn't have the same predisposition. Okay, and of course, stress is a very, very, very big part of mental health. And currently, the level of stress that I'm seeing around is quite high. Maisha imekuwa very expensive. Life is very expensive nowadays. The taxes, things are going up, and every other day, if you watch the news, there's a lot of noise about how life has become. Moderate or small levels or low levels of stress is normal. Moderate, we start getting concerned. But when it is high or maximum, that's now where your mental health becomes challenged. Okay, so when we are saying what is stress, it's when you feel like you are under pressure. It's when we don't feel in control. You can imagine you're meant to pay your rent or your children's school fees, and you're not able to afford to pay that. How can that make you feel? And especially as a man, you're the head of the family, yet you cannot afford to provide for your family. You feel like you are not in control of your responsibilities. It's when you are struggling to cope with things. You can't even maybe feed your family, and of course it's all of the above. But as a caution, we need to understand that, of course, stress, like I've said, is not just a one entity. There's a continuum. A little level of stress, we're able to function. You're able to manage your emotions, you're able to feel calm, you're able to feel fit and in control, and still get motivated and focused. Actually, when we ask the question, is stress a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, it could be either, right? Stress can be a very amazing thing because it's what pushes us to be able to perform at our best. Yeah, so you can imagine if there is no stress in life, you have no pressure to pay rent or to go to school or to go to work, or wow, life would be so boring, right? It would be so boring. So, but when there's mild stress, again, you can see the color is changing. It's becoming yellow there. Yeah. There's a bit of tension, irritability. You feel down, you feel unmotivated and focused. And then if that stress continues and it becomes more severe, it becomes more persistent, yeah, then there could be, there could be many, of course, you're talking about many reasons. There could be life-threatening issues, for example. Dr. has talked about cancer. You can imagine whether somebody is going through cancer or a family member is also suffering from cancer. I mean, those are very stressful situations. When somebody has lost a loved one, somebody they care for, I mean, it's not easy. Grief is not easy. And when you're talking about loss, we're also talking about loss of relationships. We're talking about the loss of a job. You can imagine if a man loses a job, because men, a big part of their identity is having a job and being able to provide for their loved ones, okay? Inner conflict, sometimes we have certain beliefs that and the reality that we have our own beliefs, and the reality, if the reality does not match, then that can be a very stressful situation. So what are some of the ways that somebody might start experiencing stress at this level? Just feeling rage. It's like you're angry all the time with everybody and anybody. Yeah, if you're asked why are you angry, you don't even know why you're angry, but you're just feeling upset, out of control. Sometimes you have panic, you're so anxious, you have depression, guilt, shame, blame, you're shame, especially shame. Shame is a big one. When somebody starts internalizing how they feel and they point to themselves and they're embarrassed as to who they are, that's a very big flag, red flag. When somebody starts blaming themselves for their situation, yeah, and especially if they're not directly the cause of the situation, then that's also, a concern. But of course, when that kind of stress now continues and it is persistent, and now it is disabling, meaning that you're not able to function the way you should, then you need to get help. Even at the injured stage, you need to get help. Yeah. Unhealed stress injury, now people start experiencing anxiety, depression. They start numbing, especially with men, numbing your pain with substance, whether you're drinking too much or you're using other recreational drugs, or sometimes having reckless sex with anybody and everybody. Sometimes people have gone through traumatic experiences and they're having PTSD. Then it's really, at that point, of course, somebody is sick. And that's why I'm putting this chart up, in order for us to ask ourselves, where am I? Where do I fall? Am I ready? Am I reacting? Am I injured? Or am I on the red? Am I sick? Do I need help? And of course, when we're talking about what Dr. has said, and also, intimacy, like what I see in the offices, especially things like intimacy, have many couples coming in where intimacy is a challenge, and the main cause is stress. Yeah, because I always say, go to the doctor first, get physically checked. If there is no physical reason, then chances are it is psychological. Okay. And of course, when you're talking about men and stress, wow, there's a lot that you're dealing with. The work challenges, fear, worry, anxiety, sickness, issues like time management. But something else that is really important that I would really want to mention is bills, and then talk about debts. something that I'm coming across very much, even as I do my talks, because I go to the workplaces to do talks, is that because of financial challenges, men find themselves, I'm not saying it's just a man issue. Of course, even us women, we do that, but because it's a forum for men, we find that men are taking loans. And then you take a loan here, you borrow your friend's money, you borrow some of your relatives' money, you take money from the apps, and within no time, you're not able to meet, you are to pay your bills, to pay your debts. You're not able to pay your bills, and you're not able to cover your debts. Yeah. I've been called to some of the organizations where actually, suicide has happened and money issues has been at the top of that list. Men struggling. And of course, the other issue is that men don't open up mostly. Yeah, you don't talk about your issues, even with each other. So if you're not talking to your wife, you're not talking to your colleagues, you're not talking to your friends, you have no support system. You're just struggling by yourself. So you can see how easy it is for somebody then to become sick. Okay, when you're looking at mental health issues, and especially mental health illnesses, because when you're talking about mental health, we're not talking about mental illnesses. Everybody has a mental health. Yeah, maybe if you're mentally healthy, then it's not a concern. But when you move down that continuum and go to mental illnesses, that's where now we actually have to seek attention from the professionals to be able to get the support that we need. Some of the mental illnesses that are there are anxiety disorders, bipolar disorders, depressive disorders, eating disorders. You can see OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, sleep-wake disorders. We have many, mental health issues. Okay, common symptoms of mental health: feeling confused, feeling, overwhelmed mentally. When you find yourself being very forgetful, you find yourself constantly mentally tired. Your memory is affected. Feeling sad, constantly feeling down, feeling low. You have a low mood. Yeah. Withdrawal from friends. You used to be a very happy person and you would enjoy hanging out with your friends. Suddenly you're going out to the bars alone or just locking yourself in, especially if you're staying alone. That's an important symptom to pay attention to. Being excessively worried or have excessive fear. Major changes in your eating habits. For example, you're eating too much, as opposed to how you used to eat. It's like you just want to comfort eat. You want to eat all the time. Yeah, and of course that leads to you adding weight. And of course, there are other people who completely lose their appetite. They're not able to eat, so they end up, start losing weight. And of course, something important is sleep. When you find yourself either unable to sleep, having insomnia, when you're not able to sleep, you try to go to bed, but you're either not shutting down. You end up sleeping at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and you're supposed to wake up at 5:30. So you can see you're very, 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 very tired. And if this is happening every time, then it's a problem. Other people keep sleeping, even if they sleep for 12 hours, 15 hours, they wake up, they still feel tired. It's like, I just need to go back to bed. I don't want visitors. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to answer my calls. I don't want to go to work. I just want to sleep. Okay. Excessive anger or hostility or violence is like suddenly umekuwa mtu wa makasiriko, as they say. Yeah, you get angry very, very, very quickly. You know, somebody steps on your toe and you act as if, you know, they have done the biggest thing. You're in the house as a husband, as a father, you know, wewe umekuwa mtu wa kukelelesha watu sasa, you're always angry about small things. Inability to cope with the daily problems or stress, that is also another symptom. Things that you used to cope with very easily are now suddenly becoming a problem. You know, trouble understanding. Now, when of course, the last one there that is really key is suicidal thinking. When you start thinking about, you know, this life is not worth it. My family is better off without me. Yeah, which is of course is irrational. Yeah, because your family wants you to be around. Your children want you to be around. Your wife maybe wants you to be around, you know. But when you start having suicidal thoughts, that's a red flag. We all have thoughts. Once in a while, it's like, you know, I can't stand this life, or life is too much, or I can't do this. But then that thought normally goes away. But when you start finding now that suicidal thoughts are, you know, with you all the time, and especially when you now start having plans, when you think, wow, you know, there's that rope somewhere, or I saw a rope somewhere, or there's that window somewhere that I can tie something to and I'll be gone, you know, or I can stab myself, or I overdose myself, you know, or go and buy, you know, rat and be able to use it to die, then that's a problem. Because I have, you know, even recently, just as recently as a month ago, had to, you know, work with people who have lost a very loved one, a man, through suicide. And the man looked very happy. He was there. He looked present. Of course, he was going through his own things, but he was not talking to anybody. So, you know, a jovial person, you know, committing suicide. And the question is like, how come? You know, he looked very happy. I didn't see it coming. Yeah. Why? So many why questions. Okay. So according to the World Bank data from 2022, 6 out of every 100,000 Kenyans commit suicide, with men being at higher risk, you know, accounting for 9 out of the 100,000. Okay. So you can imagine. So 9, if you look at the 6 out of every, you know, and then men being at high risk accounting for 9 out of 100,000 cases. So as I was doing my research, I saw this person who has written an article, Kamadi Amata, saying that he visited City Mortuary, Nairobi City Mortuary, just as the year began, the 2023. And what he found out is that by March, in 3 months' time, there are already 24 bodies, you know, of people who had committed suicide. Yeah, and 3/4 of the victims were men. You can already see that. You can already see, first of all, that's only one mortuary. It's just 3 months. And how many other unreported cases, how many other hospitals are taking in, you know, maybe people who are, you know, survivors of attempted suicides and all that, you know. So this is quite a concern. I think we need to, men, you need to pay attention to your mental health. Okay, so the most common, one of the most common disorders, psychological disorders, is depression. And it is important for us to be aware of some of the signs and symptoms of depression, so that if we start feeling this, or if we notice that another person is going through such symptoms or experiencing such symptoms, then it's important for us to, you know, support them so that they can get the right help. If you start feeling unusually sad, constantly sad, it's like down, you're just feeling down all the time. Loss of enjoyment, you know, not enjoying things that you used to, you know, maybe if you used to enjoy going to watch football, for example, suddenly even watching that football is not making you feel a thing. You're just flat. You don't enjoy it. You don't enjoy maybe the company of your buddies, lack of energy and tiredness, constantly feeling exhausted, feeling worthless or feeling guilty, though not really at fault. There's no specific reason for you to blame yourself, but you're constantly feeling guilty, feeling shame, thinking often about death or wishing to be dead. Then you might find that sometimes then people start overusing, for example, alcohol and driving recklessly and subconsciously hoping that something happens to them and they die. Because we have incidences where people are very suicidal, but they don't want it to appear as if they're the ones who caused their own death. So they put themselves in situations where they may die, but it may look like an accident, just to protect themselves and also to protect their families. They'll just say, oh, it was just an accident, while in the real sense, this person took their own lives. Okay. Difficulty concentrating on making decisions. You may find that decisions that you used to make just even without thinking, becoming very hard. It's like, very simple things. You're not able to think them through. Your memory is letting you down, moving more slowly or sometimes becoming agitated and unable to settle. You're restless, basically, all the time. It's like, ujui kitu unataka. Yeah. You just can't understand yourself. Having sleeping difficulty, or sometimes sleeping too much. I've talked about that. Loss of interest in food or sometimes eating too much. Changes in eating habits may lead to loss of weight. Yes, I've talked about that. But of course, something else is also the loss of interest in sex. That's also one of the other symptoms. Okay. The other mental health disorder that is very common nowadays is anxiety. Wasiwasi in Kiswahili we say unasikia wasiwasi kila wakati. Feeling nervous, restless, or tense all the time. You have no particular reason. You have a presentation, of course, we get nervous when we're about to present. But now you're having nervousness, just even small responsibilities or things that are expected of you. When you think about them, you just become nervous, you become tense. A sense of impending doom, danger, or panic. It's like you're always thinking that, the worst, something bad is going to happen constantly. It's almost like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're constantly thinking negatively, You may experience, an increase in your heart rate, hyperventilate. You may find yourself, breathing, in a hyperventilated way, increased sweating, sometimes, especially when somebody is having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, they may experience that. Weakness or lethargy, just feeling tired or feeling weak, shaking, especially when you may find that you're just shaking, your body is shaking, your fingers are shaking, maybe trouble focusing, having gastrointestinal problems, rushing to the loo, diarrheaing, having the urge to avoid triggers. It's like, the sources, whatever it is that is making you anxious, then you start avoiding it because you feel like once I see it, then it's going to. Hello? Oh. Tracy, you're not able to hear me? Hello?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you. It's just we're looking at the.
Fine. Yes, I understand that. So, okay, so I will move very quickly and say that men's mental health matters too, that men cry, men have emotions and feelings, men have suicidal thoughts, men suffer from mental illness, and men can also get hurt. It is not less manly to reach out. That society has set an idea of being a man, teaching them to mask their emotions. It's time we change that idea. And just a few tips on self-care. First of all, talk about your feelings. If you feel like you do not trust people around you, then go for professional support. Come to me. I'll create a safe space for you to be able to express yourself. And of course, we talk about confidentiality, that I do not share whatever it is that we discuss in the sessions, unless, of course, you are at risk of harming yourself or harming somebody else. And of course, that doesn't mean that we talk to everybody else. It's just maybe talking to a psychiatrist, one family member, if at all you are a high risk to yourself. Please keep active, whether it's walking or dancing or doing whatever it is, that as long as your body is moving, eat well, stop, avoid junk all the time or a lot of nyama choma and beer. We need to also eat vegetables. Yeah, take a break. Another hideaway is for men is actually work. Some of you hide behind your work. You're constantly working. It's important to give yourself a break. Drink sensibly, keep in touch, do something you're good at, accept who you are, ask for help, care for others, learn to say no. Okay, have boundaries, forgive yourself. All those are important points when it comes to self-care. So it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. That's the end of my presentation.